Hi Adam, how you doing?
Good.
Thanks to be here. Well, I'm here visiting London, and we met today at this nice event that deals with decentralized justice AI. We are at the King's College of London. Tell us a little bit about you, about your project, about your page that you were talking to me previously.
Yeah, so I am starting up right now it's just a YouTube channel called Crowdsurance, and it's all about covering decentralized applications. Right now I'm focusing on insurance, and what naturally I realize follows from that is arbitration and things like that. So those kind of two things are the focus.
Well, when I read the name of the page of your channel, Crowdsurance, and this reminds me that the insurance has an institution. It was kind of born here in London.
Lloyd's of London, yeah.
Yes, and the humanity without the insurance, I mean, without the possibility of spreading the risk of encouraging any business, couldn't go further like they were in those moments. So with this technologies of Bitcoin, blockchains, in general AI, I think that we have a new step on insurance. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I think blockchain has opened up new opportunities. The main thing that I see is the lowering of cost. Because what's traditionally been a barrier in developing countries, what's really stopped them from developing is that in these countries like Kenya, for example, in the capital Nairobi, you'll have resources in the city, but they don't penetrate outside of the city. So you've got rural farmers, I call them the unreachables. You can't get to them, they're over dirt roads, you can imagine it. But they are what would be called smallholder farmers, and they produce around 30 to 40% of the world's food supply, depending on what metric you use. A lady called Elise Lee from the Pula Initiative spoke about this in a lecture in 2022's D1 Conf, where she went into how important these people are and all the challenges that they're facing. So blockchain allows automation of things and the access over the internet, that you could sign up for a insurance contract over text message. So the access to the person who is remote only has to be very little, but it opens up a wide range of algorithmic services, parametric insurance, that they haven't had access to before.
Well, you don't have to convince me. We have talking about this, fintech, insurtech, and how many other things about humanity can be enhanced with cryptocurrency. But the general people you talk is aware of this? It's not? Because I talk with people that is not aware. They think that it's something like magic or something to make money out of nothing. But I realize that we have to promote this knowledge. And that's one of the main reasons of my channel. And I think that yours also. Do people sit here and know how come this, for instance, exactly the insurance can be brought and taken to these communities? How can we work together in order to promote these ideas to these communities, either in Kenya or anywhere in Africa or in South America or in Asia, that this is a global thing, that we can work together so people in general can get access to insurance? Have you thought in general terms about that?
Yeah, everyone's going to have a different role to play. People come to blockchain tech and decentralized technology, and they all kind of see their own direction. They think it can solve or disrupt things. My point of view is I want to do a non-profit because I think it allows a lot of relationships to happen with governments, with other non-profits, and with businesses who can engage with you on the basis of your charitable work. and the shareholders don't see it as an anti, something that will go against the business's interests. So it opens up a lot of opportunity to collaborate. And I think that there are a lot of governments and there are a lot of organizations that provide aid across the world who are basically crying out for solutions. And if the conversations can happen, they already have the boots on the ground, the connections to actually send people to these communities. So it's about connecting potential solutions with people who are already embedded within, right? You don't have to do it all yourself.
I have done some research about this, and one aspect that I'm really into it is the resistance of these technologies. And I found out there are two kinds of resistance. The first one, they don't know, the lack of knowledge about this. But the other ones are the traditional means that they don't want this because it's very clear, very transparent. So many governments, they wouldn't like this. Many political and economic actors of some societies, they wouldn't like this.
It can be a threat to the regime.
That's a threat. Of course it is a threat. Because many countries are not poor because they're just poor. That's because the governments and some let's say sectors of the economy, of the politics, they rather to be poor people because they can control it.
The poor people can't resist. Yeah.
So this resistance, how can a non-governmental association be empowered to deliver it?
Well, I think the fact that it's decentralized helps, and it's voluntary. So if you can get people signing up via text message, or ACA Africa and Etherisk have been working together, and Etherisk is kind of a white label provider that they provide the infrastructure for you to create your own objectives or methods. Basically, it's like an infrastructure, like Lloyd's of London is. Mm-hmm. It's a house where different people who want to underwrite go. And ACA Africa has even been offering the inclusion of insurance policies with buying a bag of seeds, right? So you can make it very easy for them to get insurance, and this overcomes the barriers of what traditionally is an issue when it's in a central office, and you have the regime that is not friendly to that central office. They raid the office, they say, oh, you're operating a business and you're doing well, so now we want to make money from you, we want to get more and more and more until it's impossible. And if you resist, we lock you up. I mean, AIG, if you ever read the AIG story, that's an insurance business that really pioneered going into developing regions without decentralized technology, without the internet. And they had coups, they had armed robberies.
Yes.
And that's the worst of it, right? They just had issues, and it was a lot of hard work. And the thing is, you can go to the regimes, or not the regimes, but the governments that are trying to help, right? And the people in charge right now are good, right? And so you can work with the people, maybe in Kenya, for example, that are cooperative. And by the time that maybe the regime changes, you've already made a start. And once you penetrate into one area of the region, word of mouth will spread, it will move, basically.
How do you think we could do so people that are developing apps for, let's say, micro insurance could join this idea of promoting? Because let's take an example in Africa, any country in Africa, that you can have like a minor insurance, like let's say $10 or 10 pounds, so now we're talking here. So you have it like in a deposit.
Yeah.
If you are running in a motorcycle, the telephone knows that you're in a motorcycle or a bus, or it's at night, so you can suspend or apply for insurance.
Yeah.
So the regional government doesn't know that you're in that, because if you know it because of the application.
Yeah.
But the idea is not that the people get charged or not. I mean, if they have an insurance and they have an event. It's the culture of being insurance, the culture that a solution exists outside of your regular day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Do you know any person that is preparing like a white collar insurance application, or a white collar, no, white level, or any white level crowdfunding directed to this that you can call to your channel, YouTube, and talk to them?
Yeah, so I mentioned Data Africa, and I'm working on doing full analysis and summaries of the.
But
D1
are they
comps.
developers or not?
So Etherisk are a platform that are developing. What's different about Etherisk is they're providing something that you can. You take the core functions, right? You can take the core functions of insurance done with smart contracts, and then you can use that how you want, but they have sensible defaults, they have good ideas, and they can provide you support to get started. And how you choose to use that, the funding, they can help you, but it's your job to kind of engage as a capitalist and make it happen, or engage as a non-profit. One of the interesting things about blockchain, doing it with smart contracts, is you can remove the need to do insurance for profit. You can do it for profit, and you can lower the costs drastically.
Yes, drastically.
But
yes.
you can also do it at cost. So instead of having the insurance house, that's the middleman that needs to make a profit, and that's where you can get exploitation. That's where you can get kind of delay, deny, defend strategies that we get with some of the traditional corporations. The shareholders demanding that you skim profits and what's owed to the customers to enrich the company. You can run it at cost, so the smart contract or the decentralized autonomous organization that's governing it doesn't need to make money. So it can be more like a mutual arrangement where the costs are so low that the people are insuring each other, and this is a mechanism for just connecting them. And my point of view is one of the best ways to get it out there is to provide affiliate commissions for salespeople. So you send them out there, they all want to sell it, they all want to penetrate it. And Etherisk has recently, with V3, implemented affiliate systems to do exactly that.
You're mentioning two important things that I have a friend in Venezuela, he's called Pedro Ras. He was the first person that talked to me about parametric insurance. Then I understand that it is interesting because it's very objective. If this happens, automatically you get paid the insurance, but also the mutual. Do you think it's possible using blockchain, DAOs, decentralized organizations, autonomous organizations, the idea of insurance and parametric insurance having like a global civil mutual that I'm owner because I belong to the DAO, but also I'm insured with them. Do you think it's possible without the participation of the nation states, of the states?
Oh yeah. The thing,
you don't have to convince me. We have to convince.
The thing is, when you run it at cost, and I only think I roughly understand the full implications, right? But when you run it at cost, it's just such a paradigm shift in how it works. You can roll over no claims to the person in its 99.99% entirety, right? You could pay a tiny gas fee. That's it. It's going to be a couple cents on the dollar, if that. And so it becomes a savings account. They buy the bag of seeds, they get the contract. Now the contract's probably going to be denominated in something like Ethereum. So now you're also getting a currency arbitrage. Something happens to their local currency. I would wager that Ethereum is going to go up in the purchasing power that they have more than their currency. So they're actually going to generate wealth to the extent that the situation in their country gets harder or more corrupt. So it can actually be like asymmetric, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it pushes to go towards a better situation.
It's a safety mechanism, and they don't need to think about it, but it can be communicated to them.
That's another thing. I don't know how do you understand this that I'm going to say. The thing is that it's not for making money. I mean, it's not a company that relies on making money. It doesn't mean that this DAO or this mutual can hire the best professionals on insurance market, whatever it is, selling, creating some services. So it doesn't mean that you have to hire people that don't know what they're doing. On the contrary, you can see how much these people that works in this and this and this companies, and they say, let's hire this guy.
Yeah.
Because it's not only the payment of the officers or right now, but it is the gain of the company. So if we are in a mutual, we are insured and we are owners also.
Yes.
And we also can be provider of services if you're a doctor, if you are a shop repair thing. So that thing, I think that we have to move forward so the people understand what's a mutual,
Yes.
what's a trust,
Yes.
what is an insurance has a contract, because a lot of people don't know. I don't know if it happens to you. They think that that's insurance that I pay, and also it lowers the fraud, because if you are the owner of the same company of your insured, you're not going to commit any fraud. So how do you think we can manage to deliver all these ideas?
So the good thing about working with farmers, and I'm covering this stuff. I've been researching it for about a year or two, so I'm not going to call myself the world's biggest expert, but I've been following a lot of what people have been saying, and my opinion with working with farmers is they're pretty smart. All right, they understand the seasons, they understand planning things, right? To be an effective farmer, you have to be quite disciplined. And what's different about working with farmers is the need is already understood. All right, what has been the issue is the availability of anyone to offer them a solution. So when you go to them, they say, oh, it's very cheap, I have little to lose. And so they try it out, and then it works. There's been some proven examples of it working. I think it was payouts for some droughts. From under ETH with Africa doing the building of the specific policies, right? They did the on-the-ground stuff. They used ETH as the system to make it, and they actually got paid out. So this isn't theoretical. It's actually happening at an early stage. And the thing about insuring people is you don't want to cover only farmers in one region in Kenya. All right, you want to expand to other regions in Kenya. And then you want to expand to the countries further on. You want to go to different regions because you want to spread the risk.
And it's scalable.
Right.
You can work with 100 people, 10,000 people, 1 million, and a million of people.
There's a big no-no in the world of insurance. It's correlated risk. Okay, one flood wipes out your entire policy pool.
It is.
The entire thing is over. You have to fund it by there being a small amount of people who need the money, and the vast majority of people have the money locked in. So when you get the smart contract, what's beautiful about it is you can lock those funds, right, for a fixed term. Everybody knows what the term is, and during that term where you have the funds locked, you are liable to pay the payouts to people who need the money, right? So over time, the policies that are built in a sensible way will generate more and more value. And because it's at cost, you can set it so that it auto rolls over and it becomes a savings account. So over time, it can really work because there's no need to take the money as profits. So it can actually form the basis of becoming an entirely different and new economic system that begins by taking the labor, and you can put the labor on the blockchain. You can create the first financial instrument based on the value of the labor that they are doing, because you can only insure things that exist, that are happening, right? You can insure a book from damage, but you can't insure like a concept in someone's head. So the farming work is real, and you can put a price on that, and that allows you, through the mechanism of insurance, to create a financial token of something happening in the real world, and then they can go get loans. They can get
you can put it as a collateral of whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Again, you don't have to convince me. I'm really convinced, as you can notice. But we have, again, another resistance. Regulators, regulation. There are agencies about banking, finance, insurance. Do you think it could be possible viable to make, for instance, this wide level, global, digital, based, when I tell you based, it's not based because of the regular thinking of, but that comes from London, for instance. Do you know anyone that can develop this and we can do like this undercover thing so people can try it?
I think it can definitely be done undercover, but I think it's easier when you've already got it going, right?
But
So go where you're wanted. There's a lot of developing countries. They don't care about trying to keep a regulatory moat for corporations. They're not mired in years of doing things a certain way.
Because that's the mean to have.
They
money.
will, but not all developing nations and not all the time. You will find a window right now, like Acre Africa is doing in Kenya, and it will just build and build. And once you establish something that works, when you get non-profits involved, for example, in thinking, well, okay, we're a consortium of people that do insurance, and we're a humanitarian focus, for example. What is a sensible, reproducible insurance contract that can cover farmers? So once you've done that, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. They've already decided, well, these are good, reliable satellite data. And another thing that Acre Africa was doing was they had this concept called village champions, where you have somebody who goes around with a cell phone, and they can also on the ground record the location, on location of what is happening there. So if there's been a drought, you get the satellite data. You also get the on the ground data. So the implementation of it can be very easy. And if a country decides we don't want this going on anymore, it's up to the people involved in the contracts how they choose to approach that.
Can you imagine a country where humanitarian aid is not allowed and it's forbidden and it's illegal? That's happening in some countries.
Yeah.
So because they know that you put very clear the corruption, you see very clear who's the one getting that money. Right. So I would like to participate, if it's possible, to any project that we can visualize that this is possible. Please call me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam, nice to meet you today. Nice to have this conversation and knowing your equipment and your page, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.